Hey everybody, it's Jane Johnston with the BriarHillGroup at REMAX here in Victoria, BC, and I'm here with Lau of Edmonton and Mette Hobden. How are you guys doing?
Great.
Good.
Good. So I'm here at a cafe because my life has just gotten crazy. Real estate's really taken off here. I was just wondering what's going on in your cities. Mette, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, pretty busy here too. Like it's been non-stop for the last, at least a month. And it seems to be a wide variety of properties going, but I would say more single family than condos. So I don't know if that's the same in your areas, but it's definitely busy.
Are you finding the reason for that is because of the new condo insurance issue in BC?
I wonder that it may be difficult to say. I know that things comes in waves anyway, but it could be the new strata issues that's stopping that. I thought there was going to be kind of a lot of activity because of the new rules coming in July with the CMHC. So I thought the lower end was going to be really busy as well, but it just doesn't seem to have been. Maybe it's because a lot of the condos are older people and they're still hesitant because of COVID. I don't know. It could be a bit of a mix of things.
Okay. How about you, Stephen? How's it going in your market? Welcome, Jeff.
Yeah, Stephen Lau from, hey, Jeff. Stephen Lau from Edmonton here. Our market was quiet from about end of March until early May, and then it started to really pick up towards the end of May. Properties under, I'd say, 425 were getting snapped up really fast, and properties over 600 have continued to be kind of stagnant. Our month-over-month sales were up 76% from last month, but of course, when you're comparing to zero, of course, it makes sense. We currently have about 5864 listings as of today, which surprisingly is a little bit low. I think with COVID, people are still kind of cautious and timid to get their houses on the market, and that's probably propping up our prices because the buyers that we're looking to buy this year have fewer to choose from, and we are getting into multiple offers for well-priced homes. And I've faced already 3 multiple offers in the last month, and I won them all, thank God. So.
Yay, good for you.
And by the way, I must give credit to Lois in our group here. She did send me her nephew to buy in the Edmonton area, and I got it closed with a multiple offer, about 11,000 over list price, but we got it done. So thanks, Jane, for making this happen for us too. So
no problem. Yeah. Jeff, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi again, guys. It's Jeff Parlee from REMAX Real Estate Services in Vancouver.
And how's the market going over there right now?
When we actually saw phase 2 come into effect, we actually saw the market start to pick up, but certainly when we hit phase 3, we're really starting to ramp up right now, which is refreshing to see. Like when I look at the June sales, it's actually up 17.6% over last month. So I mean, total sales for June was a little over 2,400 sales, versus 2019 was actually 2,077. So that's actually up 17% over the year. But again, so if I look at the May sales, it's actually up 65% in June. So it really shows you that we're starting to see a lot more activity in the market.
Okay, awesome. So in Victoria, we've been doing gangbusters. So we actually outperformed our market last year. And I'm actually just looking at the present day statistics. So we're already at 111 unconditional sales in the first week. That was as of Monday, compared to 706 last year. So we're gonna be rocking it this year for the total month, by the way. And new listings are coming up, but we're still below where we were last year. So we're probably about 10% below listings. So we're now seeing multiple offers. Essentially, an entry-level house is about $799 here. And I just listed one on Monday with kind of an unfinished basement. It was right beside a golf course, and I got 5 offers last night. And it went over asking. I can't tell you yet. So are you, what sort of prices are you seeing over asking, you guys?
It all depends in our area for sure. It seems to be from 5,000 and right up to 100,000 sometimes. And sometimes unconditional offers too, like just here's an offer unconditional over asking price is happening as well.
So what do you think is fostering the optimism in the market? Stephen, why don't you go ahead? Because I know you were in a slow market for a long time.
Yeah, well, we do have our residual issues with the oil industry downturn. We did have a Supreme Court ruling last week that's pretty much hopefully took away the final hurdles. They were doing all this Indigenous consulting, and I think the Supreme Court said finally we're good to go on the Trans Mountain pipeline down to Burnaby, BC. So I know that there's a lot of activity. It's already, construction's already happening, and Kamloops, everything is happening all the way down to Burnaby. But at the same time, because of COVID, as you know, the federal government in every province, we have massive amounts of CRB payments, and the government's going into massive debts. So when that debt spending to support our economy is going to stop, and how that might affect home sales, and it's anyone's guess at this point. And I think next year is when we're going to see maybe less volume as if employers don't hire back their employees, during this furlough, this COVID period, then we're going to have some problems across the country, but also particularly in Alberta. But hopefully the pipeline approval will get the people who have been stagnant and sitting on the sidelines for a long time in the oil industry. Hopefully they'll have some work to do, and they'll keep our economy alive. So.
Are they looking at diversifying the economy in Alberta at all?
Well, it's just like telling me to be a computer programmer tomorrow. It doesn't happen overnight. So I think most people who are in the oil industry making six figures and they're 45 to 55, like just a lot of engineers in 2014 when the first major oil downturn came, the word was 100,000 people got unemployed, and a lot of petroleum engineers felt that their jobs were going to be gone permanently. So there are a lot of highly educated white-collar workers out there who are shifting out of the industry, and that's led to a difficult market for certain price points, particularly in Calgary. Edmonton's more diversified. We do have forestry, mining, agriculture, government, healthcare. We're a lot more diversified than Calgary, but yeah, that's what I have to say.
What about you, Jeff? Are you finding that there's optimism in Vancouver?
Absolutely. I think it's definitely been a bit of a pressure cooker over the COVID period. Just to give you an idea, like we have about 8,000 people on our websites. And when I was looking during the heavy times during COVID, like it was dropped all the way down to like 30, 35 people that were on the website within an hour. If I look at the stats, even just this morning, I was just looking at them, I got about 225 people on per hour. So it gives you an idea that a lot more people are looking and becoming a lot more active in the market. So I agree with everyone else. We're actually starting to see multiple offers on properties as well. Of course, if the property is priced properly to begin with, to get that attention. But I would say we're probably looking at about 2.25% above list price when we get into those situations. So to really answer your question, I think, yeah, no, it's a bit of a silver lining in the cloud finally.
Are you guys calling up your clients and saying, hey, let's get you going in terms of listing?
Absolutely. Listings are, a lot of sellers been holding back, I think, during this time. So now we're actually starting to see a bit more inventory hit the market, and that's stimulating buyers to get out and take a look. I don't know how your markets are, but yesterday from the Real Estate Board of Vancouver, they actually approved for open houses now to open up. So do you see that in Victoria as well yesterday?
So the board, the BC Real Estate Association actually approved it, I think last week, but we had a discussion internally. And so what I'm doing, so I have a house that has beautiful gardens. It's like an acreage. So I'm actually doing an open garden as opposed to an open house.
That's smart.
So if people want to come and see the house, they can. And then I'm also inviting realtors through, because the realtors will come prepared with the mask. So we did that yesterday, and I contacted every local realtor and just let them know. We had a wine draw, If they wanted to come by and see the house and give me feedback on pricing, and just because we haven't had a lot of viewings on that particular property, it's unique. So they said I was pretty much in the ballpark. We're just going to have to wait because it is such a big gardening property. So I'm just trying to be practical and innovative and expose the house. We do very in-depth video tours now, so people don't have to come and view if they don't want to. They're going to get all the information up front.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What about you, Mette? Are you dialing it in with your sellers and telling them to get going? I figure the market's going to be quick at least till mid-September.
Yeah, I have contacted some of them, and some are kind of getting ready to list. I'm finding that even people I wasn't aware wanted to sell are coming out the woodwork as well. So just trying to keep up with that for sure. It's a good time. But like I said earlier, interesting enough, it seems to be that single family 350 up to probably $1 million. That's where the activity is, not the condos right now.
Oh.
And is it rural properties? Are you finding more people are buying rural properties? I think that's why the move away from condos is because of concentration of people living together.
Yeah.
And they're like, I just need space. I need to get away.
Yeah. And also I heard an interesting point, which was somebody saying because travel is limited now for people, you know, they're saying, I'd rather then spend my money and get a beautiful home where I can spend my time. So that's why the high end are selling. Because people are saying, well, I'm going to be spending more time. I want it to be beautiful where I am. So yeah, it's definitely happening.
Well, you live in a beautiful part of the country in Cowichan Valley.
Yeah.
Very
lucky.
What about you, Jeff? Are you finding people are moving into bigger homes?
No, the stats show that condos and townhomes are still up in sales versus single family. So I still think that that's probably still a really good opportunity for, like, the benchmark price right now for a home in Vancouver on the east side is about 1.4 million, which is down about 150, 200,000 from where it was this time last year. If I look at entry level prices for townhouses in the same area, then you're looking at around 1.1. So, you know, a $300,000 gap where you can actually have a rental suite downstairs makes far more sense. But the sales are still showing that condos and townhomes are about 5% higher in our area.
Well, we're totally stagnated on the condos, and well, not totally, but I'm finding townhomes and houses have been doing well, but the condos have suffered a bit. We're actually down compared to last year. So interesting.
Yeah,
what about you, Stephen?
Jeff, if you have any clients who can't afford homes in Vancouver, please send them out to Edmonton. What did you say your average price was? 1.3, 1.4?
Well, benchmark in the east side right now is 1.4.
Okay, well, take off $1 million. Our average house price is $430,000. Okay, and the median is $393,000.
Wow.
Our average condo is only $214,000. And the average duplex or townhouse is $336,000.
Wow.
So buy investment property here, you know, with your spare change. So
our median price ended up at around high eights, $895, but our average price actually topped over $1 million for the first time this year. So for the first time ever. But do you find that there's a relationship between the pricing of condos, townhomes, and houses? So for instance, I find like if our houses are worth about $865, let's say, the average townhome is about $650, and then the average condo is about $400. So there's always that ratio of because of the cost of owning a townhome with the strata fees increases the gross debt service ratio.
Yep.
And so it makes it harder so there's always a relationship between houses and townhomes, I find. Am I speaking out of my head? Do I make sense here?
No, I think that's fair to say in the Vancouver market as well, right? So So Stephen, when you say a condo sells for approximately $350,000, like a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, typical, like what would that rent for?
What would it rent for? About $1,500 a month for a townhouse. A house would probably get about $1,800 a month for a starter home. A starter home, like maybe 1,500 square feet, double detached garage, 2-story with an unfinished basement, about 1,800. And larger homes, maybe 2,000 to 2,200 for a 1,800 to 2,000 square foot home.
Right.
Yeah, we don't get capital appreciation like you guys do in BC. We have a very steady market with no capital appreciation. If anything, it's stagnant.
Right.
And I project it to be stagnant for at least a year or two.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So for Victoria, I'm optimistic that it's going to be a great market until the end of September, and unless we get a second wave. I think we've had a delayed spring. I'm seeing April numbers now in July. So what is that, spring and summer?
Yeah.
So I figure we have 2 or 3 more months. Like you were saying, Mette, the rural kind of vacation, beautiful homes are tending to sell. I know Shawnigan Lake's gone crazy. I bought a little condo on the lake and it's gone up in value already. It's probably 70,000 more than what I paid for it in just before COVID hit.
Good timing.
Fantastic.
But in general, I'm just looking at the numbers. Okay, average price, depending on where you are, in Victoria it was 700, with the median price of 695. That's for, that's for townhomes. And then for condos, it was 485, with a median price of 424. So that says to me the market's going down a bit in the condos. And then average price for Victoria itself was $1,007,000 with a median price of $945, and we only had 34 sales in the city of Victoria. So that's a small part. That's like the very core of downtown Victoria. So it's interesting. When I got into real estate 14 years ago, the average house price was $399.
I should have moved to Victoria 11 years ago then, or 14 years ago. I'd be much better ahead.
Well, I always tell people the best time to buy a house is now, right?
Yeah.
True.
Yep.
Always.
Okay, so what are your projections for the year, Mette?
So I actually see a pretty strong fall. Normally my fall is actually the strongest part of my year anyway. So yeah, I'm very optimistic. And I think it probably will slow down around Christmas time. And then I think the spring will, it all depends on COVID though. All depends on COVID, what's happening there. But right now I do see confidence in the market from people. And I think that because even if COVID kind of slows down, the traveling won't necessarily open up. So I think you'll still see a lot of those people thinking, well, can I invest more locally than just spending money, traveling? So yeah, very positive for the rest of the year here, for sure.
And you're out of the zone where people have to pay that extra tax.
Correct. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you,
So
Jeff?
Nanaimo have to, and Victoria and Vancouver, but the Cowichan Valley is excluded at this point in time.
Yeah. So a lot of people are just taking that little drive, 20 minutes north.
Yeah.
Of Victoria.
Do you see a lot of international buyers on Mette?
Not yet. We are seeing some, but I actually thought there was going to be more. But they tend to kind of lean towards cities more so than, which is why I guess Nanaimo and Victoria. But for me, it's like it's a no-brainer, right? It's literally 20 minutes over the Malahat or to Nanaimo, and you can save that money. So yeah,
Save
we'll 20%. See. They'll figure it out, right?
Yeah.
What's your interpretation of where the market's going there, Jeff?
Yeah, sure. Again, with the pent-up demand that we had and what we've seen certainly over the last 2-3 weeks of what's going on, I think we're going to have a very busy summer bleeding into fall. But I do agree with Mette. It really does depend on what happens with this potential second wave, what happens with schools going back, and so many factors that we just don't know yet. But if we continue on the trend that we have right now, we are going to be smoking busy.
Awesome. And Stephen?
It's interesting with COVID, I found that some clients have changed their buying profile in terms of the type of house they want. Clients that were in the market for an $800,000 to $1 million luxury home by Edmonton standards now say, you know what, I don't need as fancy a house to impress my friends because I don't want anyone to come over. I just want my friends to have enough backyard, there's a playground in their backyard. So they actually emphasize, I want a cheaper house for about 5 to 6, but with a really big yard so my kids can run around and burn off their energy. So, you know, because and also being close to the school is mattering less now because they don't want their kids to be in a school bus. They'll drive them to school.
Right.
But I don't know how long this virtual learning is going to happen. I know in the US it's a very bad idea, but they're forcing it. But I think in Canada, generally, I think we're doing a pretty good job. And I think the market will continue to be stable. The lack of inventory is going to keep the selling prices higher than otherwise would be the case. But it will be very interesting to see next year when CERB, or they have to have you know, a post CERB you know, plan, because our government is going to be in $1 trillion in debt by next year. And I don't know how the economics, I'm not an economist by any means, but I just don't understand how we're going to pay it back one day. I just don't know. So interesting times.
Well, I do find, like, for younger people, the CERB is incentivizing them to stay at home and not work. My son got $2,000 when his work closed. He works for the local pizza joint, and they just reopened, and he's now doing double time because they're doing gangbusters with delivery. So I'm very optimistic, and I think again, what Mette said, it depends on what's happening with COVID. I'm finding people are coming out, they're emerging from their shells, and they're taking more chances. I'm at a local eatery right now, and I'm hidden in the corner, but you can hear people behind me. So it's definitely a time of optimism right now, especially with hopefully the weather will turn around. But yeah, I think it's going to be a good year. And I think what we should do maybe is reconvene in the end of September and see how things have gone. What do you think?
Yeah, good idea.
Okay. All right. So do you guys want to just end off with who you are, what your contact information is, and where you represent?
Okay, I'm Mette Hobden, REMAX to Duncan. So the Cowichan Valley from Mill Bay to Ladysmith, Lake Cowichan. And I guess my email is mette@hobdenteam.com because I work with my son.
Awesome. Stephen.
Hi, Stephen Lau from REMAX in Edmonton. I serve anything within 1 hour of driving time of Edmonton. I can tell you the real estate market is very good here, just very, very affordable. If you can get a good, stable job, move to Edmonton and retire on the island, or if you're really wealthy, go to Vancouver and buy a luxury condo with a view. So, and my website is edmontonhomepros.ca. Thank you.
Okay, and Jeff.
Sure. So I'm Jeff Parlee from REMAX Real Estate Services here in Vancouver. We service the entire Lower Mainland, which would consist of Vancouver, Burnaby, Richmond, New West, a couple of other areas as well. One point I just wanted to add when we were talking about the sales as to what's going to happen going forward here. Our sales to active ratio right now is actually at 21.4. So typically, if you're less than 12%, you might be creating some downward pressure, and then we would see the prices starting to go down. But if you maintain a 20% for several months, then we're actually going to probably start to see the sales go up. And again, 21.4 is fantastic. So again, Jeff Parlee from REMAX in Vancouver. So happy to service any of your needs in Lower Mainland.
Okay, and in Victoria, we actually have moved. We had a sharp decline in April into a buyer's market, and we've jumped right back into a seller's market. But we've basically been balanced over the last 2 years. So we're doing really well. I'm anticipating the market will do exceptionally well for the next 4 months. That's as far as I'm going to predict.
The crystal ball.
And if you want information about what's happening in Victoria, JaneJohnston with the BriarHillGroup at REMAX Camosun. My website's BriarHillGroup.com. You can reach me at 250-744-0775. So we'll reconvene in September and find out what the crystal ball has to say. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Thank you.
you.
Okay, take care. Have a great day.
Have a great day.
Thank you.